Welcome back, everyone, to Wrestling with the 80s. I am BC, once again joined by Andy the Taxman from Grappling with Canada. We're on our fourth and final part of this series where we're talking about the essential Hulk Hogan matches. We've talked about in part one Hogan's early career from 77 in his debut right through to the end of his AWA run. Part two, we talked about Hogan's initial WWF run, and we'll say his run in WWF from the Hulkamania era from 84 to 93. Part three, we talked about his WCW run. That runs from 94 to 2000. Very interesting conversation that we had about that. And part four is going to be talking about his return to WWF and eventually WWE, thanks to the World Wildlife Fund. And Andy, thanks again for joining me for this final series. I've had just a wonderful time discussing this whole Hogan run with you. I know probably people are sick and tired of hearing about Hogan, but we could talk for days about this because there's so much juicy stuff to talk about. But how you doing, my friend?
Absolutely. Well, first off, an absolute pleasure to be here. I'm going to avoid the King Kong Bundy 5 count, and we're going to get this done in 4 parts. But this has been an absolute blast for me this whole series. So thank you again for letting me come back on and crash your party for a 4th time.
Well, I got to let you know a little secret. There is a part 5. It's the XWF years. And then we're doing a 10-part series on Hogan Knows Best.
Jesus. Well, that might make me laugh harder than our Halloween Havoc 95 discussion from last episode.
I think we need to do one more episode just on Halloween Havoc 95 alone.
The Yeti.
The Yeti. But anyways, let's get into this. So, as we mentioned in the last episode, I hope you folks did check out the last episode because it was kind of a roller coaster of emotion as far as how things went. But the final year, the final chapter of Hogan in WCW was not a happy ending for it. Hogan left under a cloud of controversy. He had a lawsuit against WCW, basically like a defamation. I think it was a defamation of character lawsuit based on how things transpired at the end with the whole laydown and the Vince Russo stuff. So it was tough. It was tough, and then you led to I think that was July of 2000. Now in March of 2001, we have the WWF purchase WCW, and WCW's no more. That's it. It's done. Which is just crazy. I mean, let's just start off with that. Can you believe, like at the time, could you believe that WCW, formerly the NWA, Jim Crocker Promotions, all that stuff, was finally just purchased by WWF and never more? Like, what were your thoughts on that, Andy? Did you see that day coming?
I never saw that coming at all. It's funny because, as we've been progressing through the timelines here, I've been kind of reliving how it was for me as a fan in those years. So, 96, it's easy for me because my grades followed the progression. So 96, sure. I'm in grade 6, right? I remember, something happened either with WCW or WWF. We're all talking about it at school the next day, my group of friends and I, right? I remember, 97, 98, we're in junior high. We're making, we used to do on like sheets of paper, loose leaf, our dream matches of WCW versus WWF. You'd have like The Rock versus like Macho Man Randy Savage. You'd have Jericho versus like X-Pac or something. Like all these, we would just do stuff like that all the time. You get into 99, 2000, now I'm in high school and, still following the programs, I should say. But, now you're you're into the later teen years, you have work, you have whatever, but you're still following you still talk about it. And then when 2001 hits and it it was like you're missing a part of something that you've been doing for the last, 7 or 8 years. So it was definitely not something I saw coming for sure. And certainly adjustment for me in terms of my fandom. That's for sure.
Yeah, and it was so ironic because that was always the talk during the 80s when Vince McMahon was nationalizing WWF, and he was buying up all these regional promotions and putting so many people out of business. Well, that was always the concern. My God, is he going to buy Jim Crockett Promotions? Is he going to put it out of business? Is he going to merge everything? Is he going to take over the entire wrestling world? Well, it didn't happen. It didn't happen. Somehow, Jim Crockett Promotions, the NWA, and eventually WCW did survive that whole onslaught. And then not only did they survive it, they end up taking the biggest star that WWF ever produced, arguably, and brought them over to them and soundly defeated WWF in the TV ratings for a run of 83 weeks and was the top wrestling promotion in the world at one point. And then that's after all this happens, that's when Vince McMahon purchases WCW, a historic moment. I mean, the final Nitro, I mean, it was simulcast with WWF Raw. I mean, you had Shane McMahon show up with the leave it to Vince to do a great ending to it. You know, you had Jeff Jarrett fired live on TV. You had all this stuff. There was some really heartwarming moments like the Sting Flair match. You know, you had Booker T winning the world title. All that stuff. It was an interesting event, but there you go. And what do you have after that? You have a lot of people that were WCW mainstays, former WWF main eventers, that were under contract, that were people wondering, well, were they going to show up in the WWF? And some did. Not most of the major main eventers didn't. So we had kind of a faux invasion angle where it was WCW versus WWE, but really it didn't have the firepower that was needed to make it really interesting. It really got watered down by adding ECW and having like guys like Austin and Angle go over to the WCW side, and just I don't know, thoughts on the invasion angle. To me, it was just a major disappointment. But how about yourself?
Yeah, completely missed opportunity. We had talked in the previous episode about Vince's proclivity to just beat everybody who wasn't a WWF invention. So, I mean, you saw teams like the Rascals or whatever go over and just get annihilated. Lance Storm, super hot at the end of WCW, kill him right away. Just everybody who was somebody. And then not only that, you even remember where they used to book a WCW match in the WWF programming? So like I remember one was what was it? Buff Bagwell and Booker T. Yeah. And they lit the ring weird. They did a whole bunch of messed up stuff and the crowd just hated it because that's not what they're there to watch. So I mean, just everything and the invasion thing was just dead on arrival. It's just terrible.
Yeah, and I get it. I mean, Vince won the war. He's not going to have WCW now come into WWF and dominate them. But what would have been nice to see is them have another brand at WCW and keep it going that way. But whatever. It wasn't going to happen. Like for all those people that thought, oh, we're going to do an invasion angle, WCW is going to beat WWF. I'm sorry, that's not happening. No. But they could have certainly made bigger stars out of some of the people. Now, hats off to Booker T, because he's the one guy that got through all that. You know, he ate miles and miles and miles of crap in order to survive. And boy, he's still associated with WWF or WWE to this day. So kudos to him. Shows what a professional he is and what an actual talent he was, and probably had one of the more memorable runs of his life with the whole King Booker gimmick too. So love that stuff. But yeah, so we go through 2001, a watered down invasion angle. And then in 2002, I believe it was February, was the No Way Out pay-per-view. And that's, ironically, No Way Out, NWO. We get the tease of a poison that's going to be injected into the WWE F, I guess at this point, I think it's still
Still
WWF.
was, yeah.
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 In the form of the NWO. And we're not talking about 90 member NWO. We're talking about the core three: Hogan, Nash, and Hall. And to me, I don't know about you, but that got me a little bit excited because now we're actually going to see the real main eventers come on the scene. What were your thoughts when you saw this pop up on your screen?
I loved it. This was like, it was must see for me because I was a huge NWO fan, like in the 96, 97, 98, the original. I'm not, when you started to have Vincent and Horace Hogan, no.
Stevie Ray and those guys.
Yeah, no. Even the split or the silver and black and all that other crap, it was just no. When it was the original three, I didn't even mind when 6 was in it, to be honest. But so when they were getting teased to come in, I was like, okay, this is interesting. And yeah, a bit of a mixed bag. I'm sure we'll get into that in a little bit too.
It was, but it got off to a really good hot start.
Absolutely.
And it was interesting because you got a Hulk Hogan, again, the biggest icon in the WWF. Well, for us, okay, I know there's the Bruno side of things and stuff like that. For us, it was the biggest icon in WWF history coming back. But he's not coming back as the man, because right now the man running things is Stone Cold Steve Austin, and there's The Rock right there, and there's Triple H, and there's all these great wrestlers and who made their name for themselves while the whole Monday Night War was going on. So he came in, and Hall and Nash came in, and I feel like there wasn't as much pressure on them, to be quite honest. They didn't have to carry the load. They weren't trying to beat the WWF. They're just a part of the WWF now. And right off the get-go, we get a hot start with the Hogan Rock feud. And I know everybody wanted to see Hogan Austin, and we didn't actually get that. But the Hogan Rock feud turned out to be one hell of a feud, I'll tell you that. And they went all out with that, with some of the things that they did as far as the build up to it. You had the tractor trailer smashing into the ambulance and a few different things like that. But were you disappointed that the first initial feud was Hogan Rock, or were you okay with that?
I was pleasantly surprised, actually, that it ended up being Hogan Rock. See, I personally always was a bigger fan of The Rock than I was of Austin. I appreciated Austin, obviously, what a talent. But I thought as that story progressed and as you started seeing the NWO get involved, it just seemed to fit better that it was Hogan and Rock. And then you had this, obviously, the accoutrement of the Outsiders going after Austin, and then culminating in obviously that matchup at WrestleMania.
Yeah, and so that's the first match that I have on there is, and probably the greatest match that you could argue for Hogan.
Yep.
Next to as far as work rate and bigness of the match. Obviously, the big one for him is Hogan Andre, but the work rate in that was not great. But unlike Meltzer, we won't hold that against him because of the largeness of the moment. But this one actually had great work rate. It had a great story, had a great background. You had the icon versus the guy that was at the time thought was going to lead it for many, many years. Of course, The Rock ends up leaving shortly after too, but whatever. He was the top guy at that time because Austin was breaking down a bit. So WrestleMania 18, Toronto, Ontario, Sky Dome, 60-something thousand fans, or maybe even 70,000 fans. Hogan Rock, which should have been the main event of that night, but just insanity that Jericho and Triple H had to follow that. I feel for them on that one, but what a match. What an atmosphere. It's probably the beginning of what we get to call now Bizarro World as Toronto becomes, but two great. Forget what we feel about Rock right now and the whole foolishness around the last couple of WrestleManias. At the time, two of the best workers. And when we say workers, we're talking about working the crowd, working the microphone, working in the ring. Two of the best on the microphone. And just they knew how to play that crowd. It started off so hostile. And by the end of it, they were on board for everything that those two guys were doing in that match. To me, this was it the greatest match in WrestleMania history? To me, I'm a homer for Bret Hart versus Steve Austin, but number two to me is Hogan Rock, just because of the atmosphere in that. Where would you rank it as far as the all-time WrestleMania matches?
Yeah, it's without a question, top three.
Mm-hmm.
My number one favorite of all time is Austin and Bret Hart.
Mm-hmm.
This
Steamboat
one,
Savage has got to be in there, and Hogan.
That's why it's
mm-hmm.
Steamboat Savage and this one are like a 2A, 2B for me, and for two different reasons, right? Obviously, the Steamboat and Savage match was just a masterpiece of technical wrestling, just beautiful poetry. This match, and we talked about this a lot in our previous episode, but it is very fitting here. This is a match where you watch it for the crowd.
Yes.
Right. Mm-hmm. It's funny because Hogan was the heel coming into this one, but Bizarre World Toronto came into play, and they were 100% a Hogan crowd, to the point where I love this little homage. Hogan's doing the classic back rake, and the fans were just coming unglued. Like, you've never seen anything like it. You tell me my smile. This is like one of the. It's just a tremendous match. The work was great. Like, it really was. Like,
it really was.
Hogan worked hard. Rock sold his ass off. Like, not in the Shawn Michaels way, which I'm sure we'll talk about later.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But Rock sold appropriately for the match, and the pacing was great. There wasn't a lot of standing around. The false finishes were awesome.
Yeah.
I loved everything. You got a Hulk up, and the fans were going ballistic. Like, it was just a great, great, great match. This is a match where if you weren't a wrestling fan, you could watch that match and understand why people like wrestling, I feel.
I love that you said that, because I was literally going to say something like, this is a match that I can throw on the TV, and if my wife were to come down and say, here, sit, watch this. This is wrestling. This is why wrestling is awesome sometimes, right?
Yeah.
And you can feel like you can watch it anytime. You don't need to explain anything. You just listen. Just listen to the crowd. Look at the moments. Props to The Rock, because like he could have easily just said to that, he could have went boo-boo face with that crowd and just said, I'm sticking. He goes, I'm sticking to the script, whatever. I'm supposed to go around the baby face, Hogan's the heel. But they understood. And this is, back when guys could still call it in the ring and make magic out of something. They knew what they had there, and they worked with it. And it's so funny because, like, in 93, when we talked about it, when Hogan left, the fans were done with Hogan in WWF and done with babyface Hogan and all that stuff. They finally got the heel turn in WCW. He was great as a heel there. The work rate was not great, but all of a sudden Hogan comes back to WWF, and it's like the crowd were just dying for babyface Hogan again. They were dying for it. And it's like Hogan put on his working boots. All of a sudden he's back in WWF, right? He's like Japan Hogan or something like that, right? But this match, like, forget just the crowd work, but they worked in this match. They put on a great match. It's one of Hogan's best worked matches as far as work rate in the ring. So unbelievable. And then, of course, you touched on this on your tribute to Hulk Hogan after his death. You get the next night in Montreal, right? Like, just how long was that standing ovation for him?
Oh, it was like 20 minutes or whatever. Just ludicrous.
That still sends chills through my body, just that. And we talked about during that episode. It was like the fans finally had permission to cheer for him again, and they wanted to cheer for him, and they wanted the old yellow and red Hogan back. And it was still the Hollywood thing, but it worked for it. But if you're a wrestling fan, you have to watch that match. You have to watch Hogan versus Rock at WrestleMania 18, or you're not a wrestling fan. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Well, not just that, but you did bring it. Yeah, watch the reaction the night after too.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
It's
I did include that in our episode too.
You did, yeah. It's the culmination. It's just like everybody it's like they were able to breathe again and just say, yes, thank God we're back to normal here. So then the run continues in 2002. For me, I don't know. To me, I always enjoyed this match. A lot of people, because they're Triple H haters, don't like this match. But you had Hogan versus Triple H at Backlash, and Hogan, riding a wave of momentum, wins the WWF World Heavyweight title, the last man to hold the title as the WWF champion as well, by the way, which is fitting, isn't it? And but I enjoyed that match. I enjoyed, and you could tell Triple H was psyched to be in the ring with Hulk Hogan and losing the title to Hogan. So I thought I always hear people crap on that match, but I loved this run in 2002. I thought this was fantastic.
Yeah, the run was. It was like, looking at it work rate wise, it's probably his best year of working matches
since like 84.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And obviously his opponents had something to do with it. I know Triple H gets a lot of boo-boo face about, he's
unfairly.
But go watch his work. Like, forget whatever about the McMahon, Helmsley, blah, 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 whatever. Just watch his work. He was at his really coming into his prime. He wasn't quite there yet.
Yeah.
I think 2004 is probably his when he was really all fired up. But this is a great match. I'll love this one too.
Yeah, it was. And I mean, I was a big Triple H fan at this point, and I mean, he just won the title at WrestleMania, and I was surprised he was dropping the title, and he kind of had to go heel for this and all that. But it was, hey, they're riding the momentum of Hulk Hogan at this point, and why not? Why not do it? After that, you get in May 19th of 2002, Judgment Day, you get Hogan versus Undertaker. They have a history.
Yes, very much.
Undertaker nearly killed Hulk Hogan back in 1991 as a youngster.
Well, that's why he's shorter now.
Yeah.
Or he was shorter. Yes, you know what I meant.
It's the density of the air that he hit when he did that.
Yes,
that's it. Right?
Yeah. Took inches.
Again, maybe people, not the best worked match. I thought it was a great match too. And I love the feud because you had the Undertaker as not the dead man Undertaker. He's the American badass Undertaker. You had that hilarious moment where he chains Hogan up to the motorcycle and drags him through the building and stuff like that. But this is just gonzo WWE. It's WWE at this point. And it's just, they were so loaded as a roster at that point. They had nothing but megastars, and they could do whatever the heck they wanted. And they didn't get too silly with it, but they did things. They went all out. Like 2002 was an amazing year for WWE, to be quite honest. Unfortunately, on the other side, you had, the whole Hall and Nash thing wasn't working out too well because of Hall's issues and stuff like that. And you didn't have the Austin. We always wanted to get the Austin thing, right? We weren't getting to that. And he got tied up with Hall and Nash and stuff like that. Although I know Austin loved working with those guys because he knew them. He was good friends with them. He rode the roads.
It was like a night off for him too.
Yeah, for sure. Him and Nash used to be driving buddies back in the day. So that was fine with him, but we never did get that payoff with Hogan Nash. But your thoughts on the Undertaker feud?
I liked the feud. I liked this match. It was a good big man match, which is what it needed to be. And then obviously Taker takes the title off him. Judgment Day, go figure.
Yeah,
fitting. This was a weird point of time too, where it seemed like the title was just revolving. This started in really 99, but it was still kind of going this way. You didn't see it too many long title runs. I don't think you really saw one until later 2000s, like the 2008-ish range. But no, I liked this match. Yeah, it was good.
And I mean, they were loaded with main eventers, so I was okay with this because you had so much talent, and there's so many people you wanted to see have the title on them, so it worked for me. And that I kind of liken it back to, if you're a boxing fan, I think in the 80s when you had the middleweight division, you had Hagler, Hearns, Leonard, and Durand, right?
Yeah.
And any one of those guys would be champion at one time, and you could have just Hall of Fame matches with any of those guys, right? So if they exchange the titles, that's cool with me, that kind of thing. I was fine with it. I knew it was a Hogan, a thank you run, I guess, with the title in that situation. But we got these dream matches is what we got, really, which was great. You moved on to King of the Ring in June of that year, June 23rd. You had Hogan versus Kurt Angle, and yet another dream match scenario. And you actually had Hogan tap out to Kurt Angle to the ankle lock, which I don't think, has Hogan ever tapped out prior to
that? He did once before, and you're gonna test me, so I'm gonna have to pull it up here.
Was it Sting? No, because Sting was a pin for that.
It was a pin, yeah. No, yeah. He lost. Oh, duh. What match did we talk about last episode? One of the greatest matches we thought on WCW Nitro television.
Oh, Luger, yeah.
Luger, yeah. Mm-hmm. I was like, I know he did. Yes, so that's where it is, yeah.
So it was the only one in WWE that he had tapped out.
Yeah, because I don't think he ever tapped previously in WWE.
Yeah, okay. But again, another dream match scenario, and Hogan's just on a run here, and they're getting the most they can out of this guy.
Also, one of the biggest crowd reactions was when he came out for that match.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, and you had the American Hero versus the American Hero, right? All that stuff. And then we go into July 4th of that year, and I don't know if this one was on your list, but this is one of my favorite memories at SmackDown. It's Hulk Hogan and Edge against Billy and Chuck for the WWF tag team titles, right? Yeah.
What an odd tag team. And I know Edge has talked about it previously, that he loved everything about this teaming with Hogan.
I mean, I just love Edge's, he's just like a kid in the ring posing with him at the end of the match, doing the Hogan pose, right? Yeah. And by the way, I should point out too, Hogan at this time was jacked.
Oh, he was huge.
It was insane. No wellness policy there, my friend. But I was okay with it because it just added to the lore and added to the lore of these matches too, right? But he wins the tag titles with Edge, and I mean, just a fun run. And Edge gets the rub from this. It's like there's the magic dust the Hogan dust is being put on here, and it's just blowing my mind at this time because of everything that happened in WCW at the end, and we just got the opposite of this right now.
Yeah, it was awesome. Their tag team was just so much fun. It just really was just a fun tag team. And then the only other one would have been when Christian and Lance Storm were the tag team. Mm-hmm. And they had
the Un-Americans.
Vengeance, the Un-Americans, and so that was a good match too. But Edge and Hogan just were a fun team. Yeah, the posing. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. That was so much fun.
And keep in mind, Edge was at WrestleMania 6 in Skydome when Hogan fought Ultimate Warrior. I mean, so this is literally the childhood dream is coming true. He's posing with Hogan in the ring, 12 years later, and that's pretty cool. Like this was a fun run in 2002. Now, for me, the next memorable match to me was, and for some reason, I don't know why I had it in my head that this happened at SummerSlam, but it didn't. It was on SmackDown. It was Hogan versus Lesnar, Brock Lesnar. Now, we didn't get Hogan versus Austin, but I'd say Hogan versus Brock Lesnar is up there in one of the dream matches as well. Why am I thinking it was like, I had to look it up, and I was like, I'm sure it was SummerSlam, but it wasn't. It was on a SmackDown.
Yeah.
But this is the Hogan ends up he leaves for a little while after this, so Lesnar can do the whole I retired Hulk Hogan gimmick, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then, which is odd, because then did Lesnar not leave right after that to go to the UFC?
No, not yet.
Oh, okay.
This is 2002.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry, I have my years mixed up.
That's pretty much the run in 2002. But what a murderous row
That's
run!
What I mean, yeah.
You got, so let's go through this again. You got Rock so you had Rock, Triple H, Undertaker, Angle, tag team with Edge, Lesnar.
And Lesnar, yeah. It's a pretty good work if you can find it.
That's a good run. That's a good run, and they got their money's worth out of them for that. Then we go into what is it? Is there anything else from 2002? I think that's it.
No, that's definitely the highlights of 2002. Yeah.
Yeah. So then Hogan's gone for a while. Then he comes back in 2003, and we do get Rock Hogan 2, which I didn't have on my list, but just kind of popped back into my head because I think it was either No Way Out or No Mercy or something like that.
Yeah, it was No Way Out, yeah.
Yeah. So any comments on that match?
No, I mean, it wasn't the same.
Yeah.
And plus, too, it was in Canada as well, so it's kind of weird. Like, I understand why, and then I understand why on two occasions, right? One, it's the 1 year anniversary of him coming back because it was No Way Out 2002 that they debuted. Mm-hmm. Also, Rock Hogan 2 in Canada. I understand why they booked it like that, but it was not the same.
Yeah, I agree. But it did set up something that maybe Meltzer didn't think it was great, but I thought was one of the more memorable WrestleMania matches. We got to WrestleMania 19, Seattle Safeco Field, March 30, 2003, and it's Hulk Hogan against Vince McMahon.
Oh, but you got to give the stipulation was the wonderful street fight.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of hide McMahon's inabilities in this one a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Aside from the ending, which I wasn't a big fan of because Roddy Piper had to get involved in that, and it was as much as I love Roddy Piper, it was his time had passed at that point. But
wrong place, wrong time.
Yes, probably the most memorable part of this match is McMahon bleeding buckets of blood, buckets and buckets and buckets of blood, and then the famous I don't know what you want to call it, like Jack Nicholson moment or something when that great camera angle of McMahon bloody face coming up the apron and with that sinister look on his face, ready to pounce on Hogan there. But yeah, McMahon couldn't wrestle, but for some reason, whenever he had these street fight type of things, it worked.
Yeah,
it worked, and it was an interesting match. I don't know, thoughts. What are your thoughts on this match?
No, I agree with you. It's the aura, I think, of McMahon is what pulls it off, right? The work, who cares? It didn't matter. What mattered is you had these two, and especially all the history of, Hogan screwed McMahon, then McMahon screwed Hogan, then all the hard feelings, all the BS from decades and decades, right? It was just It's just one of those. How do you describe it? It's it feels right. Like it felt right that those two should have a match like that. That's what I'm trying to say.
It's kind of like when Bret Hart and McMahon had the match. It needed to happen. You know,
the work doesn't matter. It's the fact that they're having the match that matters.
Yeah, exactly. That's what needed to happen. Interesting run for McMahon over that 3-year period, because at Mania 22 he fights or 21 he fights 17, I should say. I'm getting mixed up on the number. 17 he fights Shane in that street fight. 18 he fights when's he fights Hogan at 19, and then 22 he fights Shawn Michaels. So he has all these interesting street fights at WrestleMania, but it's Vince McMahon. He's wacko, you know, but
in more ways than one.
He does it for the business, though. I'll tell you that. Right? Nobody can argue. He won't do what he's telling his clients to do. Let's put it that way. But so then after that, we kind of get a fizzle to the run. We had the Hogan Mr. America gimmick where he's, you know, under a mask because McMahon's trying to fire him. Hogan ends up basically not liking the way the character is going. He's not liking how his run is going after a tremendous 2002. It's really a kind of a waste of Hogan for 2003. He eventually ends up leaving the company in 2003, and not on good terms, I don't think. So we don't see Hogan again for another couple of years, to be quite honest, until 2005 when he's going to be entering the Hall of Fame in 2005. Before we touch on that, any thoughts on that last part of 2003, the run that he had as Mr. America?
Yeah, it was odd. So that era, 2003, is where, and again, I can kind of relate it with where I was in life at the same time, right? So, you know, getting out of high school, you're seeing all of these great things that were happening with this company that you've been watching for a long time. Now it feels like the magic is kind of going away, like it's not there anymore. Mm-hmm. So you're seeing a lot of weird things at that point in time, right? A lot of the creativity wasn't there anymore. There's a lot now. You're moving to a lot of that slapstick stuff, getting real childish again. Yeah. It seemed like the company itself was really directionless, and they didn't seem to have that. They didn't need to make any stars because they weren't competing against anybody. You could see it, right? 2002 was awesome because they weren't resting on their laurels, and they were still trying to push all of this top talent that they had, right? Kurt Angle was just a phenom then too. Still. Yeah. But yeah, 2003 into 2004 is when you really started to see just the quality dip. And there was a big group of us, our wrestling fans, this is where we really started to kind of wane on our following of it.
Yeah, I agree. That's a good way to put it, Andy. 2002 it was almost like they were still on the high of the purchase. I think they were on the high of the Hogan return and WrestleMania 18. I think WrestleMania 18 lit a fire under everybody, I think. And with Hogan back, I think everybody upped their game, you know, I think everybody was also worried about the effect of Hogan, Nash, and Hall, because they also know that they're backstage politicians and stuff like that. But at this point, you know, the guys that were there when Hogan left were not this, you know, they were much wiser at this point, right? And bigger stars at this point. And then I feel like WrestleMania 19 was the last great run, or last great card of that run, as how I would put it. You had
I agree with that.
Hogan, McMahon. You had Lesnar and Angle. You had all these different great things going on. 2002, let's not forget, too, you had other things going on, too. Like you had the fantastic Shawn Michaels and Triple H feud. Yeah. Shawn Michaels returns to wrestling. That was a big deal too.
Yep.
Like you said, Angle was just an absolute phenom during that time. Taker, he's doing great. And then 2003 was not a great year for him.
No.
But then all of a sudden, it was like Raw and SmackDown couldn't be any further apart as how different they were. You have Triple H over there starting the Evolution thing, but he's battling Scott Steiner and he's battling Goldberg and stuff like that. And it just was really weird. And then on the other side, you got Heyman just trying to build up this roster of all these just young lions, like with Benoit, Jericho, Edge. What was it? SmackDown 6, right?
Yeah.
But you also had Lesnar and Angle and Big Show and all these different people, right? And Hogan. And it was just two just diametrically opposed shows. I think this was a time when the actual brand split hurt them, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
If they had had crossover with all that, they still would have been going on all cylinders, but the brand split, I think, hurt them. It helped SmackDown because we got to see all these new stars, like I know they weren't new to the business, but I mean, as far as being in the main event picture, you had John Cena being establishing himself, all this stuff, right? But yeah, that run from 2003 to 2004, I know people crap on Triple H and Evolution, but I enjoyed Evolution. To be quite honest, it was cool to have a 4 horseman group. I just didn't like who they ended up feuding with. He's feuding with Nash, who's pretty broken down at this point. He's feuding with Steiner, who's broken down. Goldberg, who's disinterested. All this stuff, right? But meanwhile, we're still getting Batista and Orton and all this stuff. Led to 2005. Finally, we're starting to turn some things back around because now we have Batista, Orton, and Cena really coming to the forefront. Edge is becoming a main guy. Jericho, Benoit had his 2004 run. And then all of a sudden you got Hogan coming back at WrestleMania for the Hall of Fame, and then he gets involved in an angle with probably one of the great what ifs of the sport with Muhammad Hassan. It's unfortunate what happened there because I think that was a character that I actually quite enjoyed, to be honest with you, because but just timing of all that stuff. And then we get the build to Hogan versus Shawn Michaels. I'll let you take this feud, okay? Because there's highs and lows of this.
Well, so we should discuss the tag team a little bit. That it wasn't very much of a run, but it was a way to at least establish some kind of history between the two.
Yeah.
Do you want to go backstage on this one a little bit, or do?
Sure. Yeah. Okay. We can go backstage.
So backstage, the idea was that they're going to form the tag team. They're going to have a split and have a best of 3 match. Shawn did not trust Hogan at all, so the idea was that Hogan was going to win match 1, Shawn would win match 2, Hogan win match 3. Shawn didn't like that. Then it got back to Hogan. Then he said, well, how about I just win both matches? Some 2 out of 3, right? Which then leads us to Backlash. And so, SummerSlam, not Backlash. And one of the more acrobatic matches I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah.
It was
embarrassing.
This was absolutely embarrassing.
But here I'll say this: it was embarrassing, but somehow they managed to pull a little magic out of it towards the end. But it started off embarrassing.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I'm sure we'll discuss it. But this is, again, I've said it a few times now, but this is again one where you watch the crowd.
Yes.
And it was Shawn with his just over the top, over exaggerated bumps on anything that Hogan landed, like the kicks in the corner where he's hopping up and he's going like 3 feet high, and when he takes a turnbuckle bump and does the up and over, but it's like 3 ups and over, and
when he rolls up the ramp, on being thrown out of the ring,
Hogan, throws him through the ropes, and he does like rolls and rolls and rolls, and Hogan it was really embarrassing. That's one where it's like, don't show that to your friends if you're trying to explain why you watch professional wrestling. It was ludicrous, and the crowd was just, they were amused is probably the nicest way to put it, but it was I don't know what you say about that match. That really, to me, that, and we'll get into maybe one more, but like that killed whatever was left of the Hogan aura.
Yeah.
At that point, that just it shattered the illusion, really.
So to me, okay, so what set off this match, I liked. Like the turn by Michaels was great. The super kick, like Hogan walking into the super kick.
Yeah.
Well, nobody does a heel. Probably two of the best at doing a heel turn. You know, Hogan always getting turned on, and Shawn Michaels with a super kick to a partner.
And he ate it good.
Yeah, exactly. That was great. The segments they did, like trying to build the match, like Michaels going on Larry King with the wig on and stuff like that. That was interesting.
The huckster and
the huckster and all that. Yeah. The match itself, like I say, like I was pissed watching that match when he started pulling that stuff, and you could even see in Hogan's face he was confused. You could see he was a little bit hurt, I think, you know, and then it's like they reined it in. I felt like Hogan. I think to me, when they went outside and Hogan took the weight belt off and started whipping him, I have a feeling that he put a bit more mustard into those shots and just said, "We got to start. You got to start cooperating here." And Michaels eventually did, and it turned into a better match towards the end because it's still Michaels. He's still going to pull off a great match. Hogan's still going to work the crowd and stuff like that. Hogan bled a lot in that match too. So yeah, it was there, and he eventually gets the 3 count on the leg drop, and Michaels took it, which is fine. But it was embarrassing at the beginning of that match and all the foolishness that and it was to me it was embarrassing for Michaels too.
Yeah,
that he did that, and I get it. Yes, you know they were supposed to do this, and Hogan puts creative control in there. Whatever. There's no titles. You're both legends at this point. Who cares at this point, right? You know what I mean? You know, so that was the issue there. And then they had another match, wasn't it? At was there a second match with them, or is this the only one?
No, they never did have a second match.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But it was supposed to be a trilogy, and it just
yeah. So it's unfortunate. And then really, to me, the only other match that stands out after that is the following SummerSlam. It's Hogan and Orton. Yeah. And anything else for you?
No, like I said, like that SummerSlam match in 2005 that really just killed Hogan it killed the what made him special. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
For everybody, for the crowd, for the fans, for the wrestlers too. Like, how are you going to work with a guy like that after? Right? If the problem with Shawn Michaels bumping around like that is, okay, it's obviously all fake. So then why would you believe that Hogan can hurt anybody else? And it really did hurt him as a wrestler. Truthfully, there's not much else to say except for the Orton match in SummerSlam 06.
Yeah. And that ironically gets led off. I think it was Saturday Night's Main Event is where that all got triggered with Orton doing the RKO on Hogan on the back of a car after hitting on his daughter Brooke. And this is when Orton had been doing the Legend Killer thing for a little while. Is this before or after Rated RKO?
Oh, good question.
I'm not sure. Let me look that up.
I can't recall. I haven't. Yeah, I'm drawing a complete blank.
Rated RKO was October of 2006. So this is before Rated
Okay.
RKO. Okay. Yeah. All right. So Orton's really on the rise, still, not quite the Viper at this point, but this really helped push him over the bump there. I mean, it's at this point in 2005, 2006, Hogan had slowed down. I mean, he was having some of his best worked matches in 2002,
Yeah.
but by 2006, not the same. And this would be the last match for Hulk Hogan in WWE. And I'm glad it was against a guy like Orton and not just like, some, Doink the Clown or something like that. but it's unfortunate after having such a great run in 2002 and the fans just absolutely wild for him. Then you have this ending to it where, you have the Michaels match and this. It was kind of like you went out with the whimper. And then
big time.
After that, you get the TNA run. And so like it's kind of like back to the whole WCW thing where it was fire and then it got kind of, it's a story of Hogan's life, really. Like he's on top of the world and then it goes downhill. And then of course, after TNA, you have the whole controversies that happen. We're not going to get into this. Isn't about the controversies and stuff like that. This is about the matches. But again, yes, he did have some matches in TNA, but there's nothing that I'm going to suggest people go watch.
No. And it's a shame because it's unfortunately a lot of people point to that and go, it's kind of a stain on his legacy, and maybe that's a little bit harsh to say.
Yeah.
But I mean, the whole TNA run was essentially, it was either rehashing stuff that was done previously, like the band thing or the Millionaires Club and all that kind of stuff, or it was bleeding buckets with Ric Flair in the ring, and it was things that nobody wanted to see. Like a lot of fans were just upset with that because they didn't want to see, well, especially with the Flair and Hogan matches, right? Nobody wanted to see a 60-year-old Flair and a 55-year-old Hogan just blading and bleeding everywhere, and it was unappealing.
Yes. Yeah, it was. It really, it's if Hogan's run had ended in 2002, okay, well, let's say 2003 with the McMahon match. That would have been that would have been a fitting way for it to end. Him and McMahon, that's it. That would have been great because we would have had these amazing memories of his return, triumphant return after leaving on such bad terms. It would have been great, but this just kept prolonging. And the only thing really for me that was enjoyable in his run in TNA was the whole Aces and Eights angle and all that, and the Bully Ray stuff, and that storyline. But yeah, it's unfortunate again. And then it ends with the embarrassment. Wasn't the last moment for Hogan on that the whole Dixie Carter thing?
I think so.
Yeah.
Was it that? Was it that, or was it when he was on the crutches and no, and with the cage thing?
Yeah.
I tried to that, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Unfortunate stuff. And then sporadic appearances with WWE over the years. Again, unfortunately, the last moment WWE is him getting booed out of the building in LA, but that was an ill-fated. That was a bad decision by everybody all around to have that happen, as far as him showing up at that Raw on Netflix or whatever. But it's just I wish that his last match in WWE had been that McMahon match. I think it would have just been perfect for it.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
But overall, as far as where we're talking about the legacy of Hulk Hogan, we won't get into that part. But as far as his final run in WWE, as far as matches, overall, I got to say, a pretty damn good run on that return.
Highly successful.
Yeah, that 2002, I'd put that up against anybody as far as their resume.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, we said it before, it's quality of opponents, but also what he was actually able to do in the ring. and he looked great. There's no getting around it.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. All right, and anything else that you want to touch on as far as this entire series? Like this again, this has been amazing. I've loved this. I love chatting. I can proven I can chat for hours about wrestling, old wrestling, but this is really cool just to take it apart section by section and really focus on the matches as far as just what I really hope if there's especially young viewers of this who see this and wondering, I hear all this stuff about Hogan and stuff like that, but I do know that he is important to the wrestling industry. What should I be watching for him? I hope they do check out these matches, and I hope they do, listen to what we're saying and appreciate what it meant to the business and stuff like that, right? And so, anything else that you want to touch on as far as Hogan and just the matches side of it, forgetting everything else as far as the legacy?
No, I actually just want to commend you for setting up the premise of this entire program, really focusing on the must-see matches, because truly there have been, and you from 70s, 80s, 90s, the 2000s. I mean, that's what, 4 decades, if my math is correct, of a progression of a career, and one of the legends of the business, probably the most preeminent legend in the business. And I just want to echo what you said too. I really do hope that if there are younger fans that come across this, like, take the time to watch some of them. I'm not saying you have to go and watch but cherry pick the ones that we've tried to really discuss and showcase, and just take that time to watch the matches and understand the nuance around it, and don't necessarily just focus on work rate or focus on the spots, or if this match had weapons or run-ins, or just lose yourself in the match a little bit. And I hope that we at least were able to provide a nice smorgasbord, if you will, of matches that really showcase the best of Hogan.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. And, I loved what you said. Watch the crowd, listen to the crowd, watch how they react to this stuff. That's really, really important because I find that's probably one of my complaints about wrestling now is the crowd is just there to get themselves over and it's like, they don't care who wins. They just want to see what they want to see. Whereas the crowds were eating this stuff up, and it was the wrestlers that were manipulating the crowd, not the crowd manipulating the wrestlers like we see these days. I'll leave it with this. If there's, I think we'll probably have an agreement on this, but if there's 3 matches out of all these matches that we talked about, 3 matches that kids today, you got to go watch to understand why we still talk about Hulk Hogan to these days, not talking about the controversies, but 3 matches that you suggest, what would they be?
So I'll go in order from 3 to 1. I'll say Saturday Night Main Event with Andre, because you got to do that.
The 88 where he loses the title, is that what you mean? Yeah, okay.
I think you got to go with the Luger match that we talked about last episode, and I think you got to watch that Rock match, WrestleMania. That's what more can you want out of a match, honestly?
Those are great, 3 great picks. I'd say in my 5, that would to me it's I'll go with this. You got to check out Hogan Andre from WrestleMania 3, just for the spectacle, but the main event is also for storyline. That's amazing. You got to go the Bash the Beach, the Hogan turn. You got to go with that to understand White Hot Heat, and then Hogan Rock. That would be my 3rd. But Hogan Luger's a pretty good one. And then maybe maybe it's not a match, but just check out the Mega Powers thing, right?
Yes.
The whole
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
that. But that can sum up everything basically for Hogan. But yeah, if you want to check out certain matches, those for sure. But the rest are great too. So it's all fun. It's all fun. But
we've given you lots of homework out there.
I know. We've given you what, 4 hours of podcast, 5 hours of podcast in this, but man, I really appreciate you coming and doing this deep dive. And it was a deep dive. This was a Grappling with Canada episode, is what it was.
Yeah, just about, eh? Maybe we need to repackage this one.
I know. But speaking of Grappling with Canada, please, for one last time, tell the people where they can find you. Please, folks, go and support Andy. You're hearing what he's delivering here on this channel. He does it all the time. Like some great stuff in the catalog that you should really be checking out, especially if you're into the history of professional wrestling. But let people know where they can find you, my friend.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, again, thank you so much for the opportunity to go through this journey with you. You can find Grappling with Canada on YouTube, where you're watching this video right now. You use that wonderful search bar, search for Grappling with Canada. You can also catch it on any major podcasting platform. Once again, simply search for Grappling with Canada. You can also shoot me an email, 6sidepod@gmail.com. I know it doesn't make a lot of sense, but that's what I use for that one. But I do read and respond to everything. And honestly, BC, this has been such a treat for me. So thank you so much. And again, I truly mean it. Like, what an awesome idea, a premise to do this. It's something you don't really see in terms of, today is all reactionary videos and gotchas and what happened on Raw and let's crap talk this, that. So this is honestly a breath of fresh air. And I couldn't be more thrilled that you had me along for the ride.
Right on. Well, looking forward to the Hogan Knows Best series. But in the meantime and in between time, this has been BC from Wrestling with the 80s. It's been Andy from Grappling with Canada, and I appreciate everybody coming along for the ride. And I hope you continue to just scour through old school wrestling, because there's nothing better, folks. There is nothing better. Anyways, thanks a lot, Andy, and I appreciate all your help with this one.
Thanks very much.